Hello and welcome to another episode of Rebel Rogue. Well, today I'm going to be doing the next part in my series on picking your colour scheme. Rebel Rogue. So, last time we looked at how you can use a colour wheel to choose your colour scheme. This time we are going to be looking at how you can use inspiration from objects around you and source material to choose your scheme. The first thing you need to sort of decide is probably quite simple, and I'm probably stating something I don't need to, but which model are you actually going to paint? What faction is it? What, the basics. For example, if I have this Space Marine captain, I'm going to paint it for my own custom Space Marine chapter, who I've done a bit of heraldry for and such like, but I haven't actually named them, so let's just call them Chapter X. So this captain of Chapter X is a Space Marine, we know that, and he's also Chapter X, which is a chapter which has no lore or material about it, meaning that I can't use the first technique that I'm going to show you, but I can probably use other techniques. The first technique is to look through your lore for whichever faction you have, for example Dark Eldar or Drukhari, or say Orcs for Lord of the Rings, or Men of Rohan really, that sort of thing. Just look through them, or even Space Marines, just look through the lore. What colours are they painted? What colours do they say they've been painted? How do they describe them? That is a good first step to go through. And but expanding upon this, you can choose your scheme based upon colours. This is more colour symbolism, but colours that you think would work quite well with the theme and the whatever you call it of the faction, the sort of backstory. For example, if you're going to paint Khorne Berserkers and you didn't want to go red, and they were going to be World Eaters, well, the World Eaters are described as having white armour and I believe it's blue shoulder pads and blue knee pads, so you could do some of that. Alternatively, if you were painting a different Khorne model, you might go with blood red, because they are serving the blood god, and I think they're often described as wearing a lot of red. If you were to paint, say, the Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum, you could look at some of the stuff in the uniforms that are described. For example, the Jantine Patricians, I think it is, in Gaunt's Ghosts, or the Tanith First and Only even, and their camo cloaks. You can look at a lot of things just to see some of the colours that you could choose. You could also go through looking at some of the artwork from Games Workshop, or whichever game you are choosing to make a colour scheme for. Certainly if you were doing a historical, it is very useful in historicals to look at your source material. What sort of uniform is it? Is it Napoleonic Prussians? Is it World War II Germans? Is it World War II Italians? That sort of thing. Just as an example, the German Afrika Korps did not wear beige, as you would expect in Africa. Instead they wore olive green, because they thought there was more greenery than there actually was. A bit of oversight, but it's an interesting point. If you are looking at more the fantasy stuff and the Games Workshop stuff, or other game systems are available, you could have a look at the artwork in the books. There's artwork in the codexes, the rule books, pretty much everywhere. You can even do a Google search. Other search engines are available. So that is something, and you could just look at, right, how are they painted? What sort of colours do I want to use? You could just take a bit of inspiration. You could take, right, I like this thing, but I always don't like this thing, so I'll get rid of it and I'll bring this thing in instead. That is a very, very good technique. The next major place to take inspiration from is the world around you. For example, you could, if you live in a city, a more urban area, you could look at, say, graffiti, You could look at if you live in a place which has Banksy's, or even if you want to do a Google search, other search engines are available. You could search for Banksy artworks, you could search for just general art, just general pieces of art. I know it's not quite world around you, but it is another good point. You can look at art. But if you live in a more rural area, you could take some photographs of nature and then take bits from them, because nature, and even humans, we sort of know what we like, and nature knows what works. For example, I'll probably put some pictures on screen now. There's probably a couple of ones of stormy skies and hedges, grass, the sort of greens. If you were going to go for a more nature theme, say perhaps a Wood Elf Blood Bowl team, you might choose to go down the more sort of green, or even Halfling Blood Bowl team. Or you could just pick, right, I really like this colour. Say if you've got a sunset, you might like that colour, and you're going to pick that colour and you can combine it with another colour in the picture. Because nature is inspiring. There are some brilliant things in nature that you can look at and think, yes, I want to draw inspiration from that, or I want to draw inspiration from that. You don't have to be confined in your box of this has to look like Games Workshop have painted it. And that brings me nicely on to my next point. Of course, the easiest thing to do when picking colour schemes is look at how the box art is painted, or how alternative colour schemes for the box art are painted. For example, if you were going to do an Elven Union Blood Bowl team, or very specifically, in fact, if you were going to paint the Reichland Reavers, then, or Bogenhafen Barons, in fact, you could certainly, and I would suggest, looking at the box art. It's very, very useful. Just look at the box art, right, that's how they paint that, that's how they paint that. I might put a spin on it using different techniques, but these are the colours I'm going to use. And that is a very, very good technique to use. The final thing you could use to take, well, not final, there's never a finite amount of things to take inspiration from, but my final suggestion for places to take inspiration from is other painters. This was inspired by Travarian Miniatures and his guides on highlighting and layering. It's a Space Wolf. I also used Squidmar's techniques for the face. Of course, Travarian does have, I think it's about 15 golden demons. Not necessarily Slayer swords, but still golden demons. So yeah, I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to learn to get better. But you could take inspiration from anything. If you check my Instagram, if you like my style, you can look there. You'll see pictures like this particular. Oh, by the way, link in the description to my Instagram. Rebel Rogue Miniatures. Yeah. So you could take inspiration from how I've painted this Grabbers Captain. You could take inspiration from other inspirational painters like Darren Latham, and Squidmar Miniatures and Miniac, or Scott the Miniature Maniac and Emil at Squidmar, or even Guy from Midwinter Minis. He's great. He does some amazing tutorials. Go and check them out. I know I'm plugging a channel that's got 100,000 subscribers, but what can you do? You could also look at some of the people who are on the heavy metal team. Yes, they're painting the heavy metal style, but it is a very good style. Certainly people who were on it, say Darren Latham, he's got some amazing stuff. If you were to check out his YouTube channel, yes, he doesn't do it anymore. I think Games Workshop stopped him, but he's still got all the tutorials up there, so go and check them out. Anyway, I hope this video has been helpful to you in some way. And in the next video, we are going to be combining these two past videos, this one and the one before, to pick a colour scheme for a miniature. If you don't want to miss it, please do hit that subscribe button. If you click my channel logo, when it appears in the screen, you can subscribe immediately. If you're on mobile, you can tap the screen, strike it up to bring up the suggested videos, but you'll see a little thing, a little button, just click that, and whilst you're at it, smash that like button. Anyway, I'll see you for the next video. Goodbye.